There's a specific type of woman who stays stuck for years despite desperately wanting to change. She reads the books, she takes the courses, she makes the plans, but somehow nothing ever happens. And it's not because she's lazy or broken or incapable. It's because of something happening in her brain that she doesn't even know about, something that makes willpower and research completely useless. If you've been stuck for more than a year, despite knowing you need to change, keep watching. This explains everything. Hi, I'm Keisha Dent. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I help women over 40 break through the paralysis keeping them stuck in lives they've outgrown. So I get it. I hit 38 thinking, I'm too old. I've wasted so much time. And that panic about running out of time, that shame about still being stuck years, right? Years after you first knew you needed to change. I'm familiar with that feeling. And here's the truth, though. You haven't failed. You haven't missed your chance. And no, it's absolutely not too late. Maybe you knew you needed to change 5, 6, 7 years ago. And here you still are, over 40 now, watching younger people launch the careers that you were dreaming about. You watch your college friend celebrate 5 years in her new business. And 5 years ago, you were both talking about making changes. She did, you didn't. And the worst part, you've tried. That course you didn't finish, the networking that went nowhere, the side project that fizzled. Every failed attempt feels like proof. Everyone else can do it, but I can't. And I know what that feels like. But here's what's actually happening. Those failures weren't evidence that you can't do this. It just was education, teaching you exactly what you needed to know. And here's the truth really about restarting at 40. You're not starting from zero. You're starting from 20 plus years of experience and crystal clear knowledge about what doesn't work. You know what drains you. You know what energizes you. And you know what you absolutely cannot tolerate anymore. That's not failure. That's invaluable intelligence. So let me tell you about a client I had. We'll call her Lee. So Lee, at 42, was crying in her office, right? Crying in her bathroom, crying in her car, calling herself a failure after 5 years of feeling stuck. But when she stopped researching and took just one imperfect, messy action, having actual one-on-one coffee meetings with someone that she admired, within 6 months, that was a catalyst. That 6 months later, she transitioned to nonprofit work that actually mattered. The women who successfully restart at 40 don't wait for perfect timing or complete certainty. They just take one imperfect action based on what they already know needs to change. So here's what changes everything. So right now you're 43 or 45, 47, beating yourself up, right, for not acting 7 years ago. But in 7 more years from now, you'll be 50 or 52 or 54. And if you don't do something different right now, you'll be sitting there thinking, if only I'd started at 43. Instead, I wasted 14 years, right? This keeps adding up. The time is going to pass anyway. The only question is, will you spend it stuck or finally free? So what's different about this moment? You're 7 years more desperate than when you first knew about it. And that desperation isn't evidence of failure. It's the fuel you need to finally break through. So here's what to do starting today. Step number 1. Give yourself compassion for your experience and your journey. The linear upward trajectory of success is, unfortunately, mostly a myth for most people, okay? So those seemingly perfect success stories you're constantly comparing yourself to, they're hiding the messy middle. They're hiding the failures. They're hiding the false starts. This is actually what it is really like. Your winding path with all of its detours and all of its dead ends and trapdoors opening beneath you like the Scooby-Doo show or whatever, that isn't evidence of your inadequacy, right? That's evidence of your humanity. That's evidence that you're actually experiencing a legitimate journey. So stop punishing yourself for being human and start honoring the wisdom you've gained from every wrong turn. There is so much myth out there about how this is supposed to feel, and actually it's supposed to feel uncertain, It's supposed to feel messy. It's supposed to feel as though it is winding and sometimes you're going backwards and looping back on yourself. That's the way that life, change, and success even feels. Number two is to make peace with your past. Your past gave you gifts. It gave you experience. It gave you value. You did the best you could with what you were given. We were not all given the same in life, and that's something that we have to accept. If you were born to a Forbes 500 daddy who also happens to be like 100% supportive and well adjusted and on board, and he decides he wants to help you when you make mistakes, well, you're going to be off a lot faster than most others likely, right? And there are a lot of people that are out here that have support like that. But that isn't my story, and it's likely not yours either. It will likely be more challenging for most of us. And that is the reality that must be accepted. Here's the critical part. Your brain is past focused and has a negativity bias by evolutionary design. And that can be your undoing if you don't learn to work with your brain. If you let your brain run on autopilot, it will work against you and destroy your confidence, your courage, and your fire. So making peace with your past isn't optional. It's essential to moving forward. Step number three, if you don't know what you want yet, start with subtraction, not addition. So if you don't know what you want, don't start with vision boards or finding your passion when you're feeling lost. Oh, those things are fine. They're all fine and well and good. Instead, identify with what you absolutely cannot tolerate anymore. Ask yourself, what makes me want to scream? What drains every ounce of my energy? What do I complain about over and over? Your clarity about what you don't want is the pathway to discovering what you do want. And when you remove what's blocking you from remembering your purpose, that's right, remembering, because I do believe that this is something that we are excavating, that we are rediscovering. When you do that, suddenly you have the energy to rediscover what actually makes you come alive. Step number 4, take one imperfect action. Not research, not more planning, but action. Choose one thing based on what you already know needs to change. So some examples could be scheduling, again, just like our friend Lee that we talked about, scheduling a coffee meeting with someone, doing work that you admire. You can update your LinkedIn profile. You can tell one trusted person about your desire to change. You can submit one application. You can have one honest conversation about what you want to do and who you want to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be movement. It just has to be taking that single messy step. And step number 5 is to stop comparing your chapter 1 to everyone else's chapter 7. So that woman who's 5 years into her new career, all right, you didn't see her at year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 4.5, right before things got really good. You didn't see all of those struggles, right? Or the advantages she may have had that you didn't. We kind of talked about that earlier on. You want to focus on your timeline. What will you do today? So 7 years from now, you're thanking yourself instead of cursing yourself for not taking action. So your restart doesn't require a complete life overhaul. It just requires listening to what your soul has been trying to tell you and then finally taking action on it. It is so important to learn to reframe what failure is. Failure is when you quit. It's when you stop. It is when you lay down and don't get back up. And anytime that we receive delays or resistance or pushback, all of that has value and all of that is information. And it's really important to, again, we mentioned this, to always recognize that not all of us are working and starting with the same tools. Everybody wants to be someone who has all of these tools at their disposal, right? Someone who has rich, loaded, connected family who then goes on to call themselves self-made. This is something that happens a lot. And it is really, really harmful and destructive in that it gives this false narrative on how this experience is supposed to be. Among some of the most famous self-made people, you will find rich families, famous families, well-connected families, old money, right? All sorts of things that are invisible that we don't see, and that actually they kind of purposefully push to the background because they want to be seen as someone who made it all by themselves and did it fast by being special or elevated in some way. And that's just not the truth. So it's really important to reframe what your experience is going to look like for you and to know that you have what it takes to be happy and to have the life that you want with what you have already. But it's going to look differently from other people's journey. So if you're ready to break your paralysis cycle this weekend, I created something specifically for you. It is called the 48-hour midlife momentum starter. And it's completely free, and it isn't about something to read and something to think about and hem and haw. This is your weekend to finally move. So you're going to get crystal clarity on what you actually want, and you're going to take 3 concrete micro actions that create real momentum. The link is in the description. You're just going to download it, sign up with your email, block out the weekend, and finally break the cycle that's been stealing your years. So this is part of the midlife metamorphosis method, which is my approach that combines rapid subconscious reprogramming with practical action steps, because your brain's design will often work against you, and you need tools to retrain it to work with you instead. And because 7 years from now, you'll either thank yourself for starting today, or you're going to curse yourself for never starting and wasting another 7 years. So can you start your life again at 40 after decades of failure? Yes, but not because you're starting over, because you're finally starting for real from where you are now. So which version of your 50, 60, 70-year-old self do you want to be? So if you found this helpful, just hit like, subscribe, tell me. You can send me a message, as a couple of you have. You can tell me in the comments if you would like, what's the one thing you know that needs to change? So let's make it time to do just that. Your breakthrough is waiting. All right, that is it. Again, my name is Keisha Dent. I am a certified hypnotherapist, and I want to thank you and remind you always that in order to change your life, you must first change yourself. Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon.